Tuesday through Saturday at the Storytelling Center. Get your tickets now. I have mine. Folks, if you're tuning in, you're listening to A Night with the Jonesborough Yarn Exchange on WETS 89.5 FM out of Johnson City, Tennessee. We're back. We've been telling stories about summertime and the Appalachian Fair.
You know, Lori, we've had a lot of fun tonight telling crazy and fun stories about the animals at the fair. But you know, fun aside, our animals have been an important part of our history. The fair, well, the whole reason these fairs started wasn't to hand out blue ribbons. It was a way for farmers and ranchers to get together at one place at one time and compare their stock, find better ways of raising their animals, and investigate how other farmers were working. It's not about blue ribbons. It's been for most of our country's history a matter of life and death. We rely on our animals for meat, for cooking fat, even for soap. We rely on them for transportation from here to there. Up in the mountains here, the trains couldn't get everywhere, but a trusty horse or mule could take you where you needed to go. Still can. I don't care what kind of four-wheel drive you have, there's some places so steep and so narrow you won't get there unless you're on hoof or foot. And when it comes to that, you're going to want an animal that you know will take care of you. You'll want to know where it comes from, its breed, its attitude. Your life depends on it. Whether you were a rancher, a farmer, or soldier, you needed your animals. Right up the road here, we have the Tennessee Walker's farm. There was a time when our horses were used for a lot more than a leisurely ride up the trail in these old mountains. There was a time we shipped them along with our troops overseas. These beautiful animals didn't sign up to fight, but they did. And we've got a story about a shipload of horses heading over to France. There also was a shipload of men. The year was 1916.
I remember back to the First World War. I was 9 years old. I lived downtown, and we used to hear the troops marching all the time. They were just marching and marching.
Company after company on their way to the train who would load up in the ships. Sounds romantic now. Reality is, we knew where they were going.
During the day, the officers would give the soldiers a free period, and we would buy fruit.
Bags of fruit, all of us, out on the streets to feed the troops.
Sometimes we'd leave work to give them an apple or a peach. They were all so young.
We gave every one of them something, so many boys.
And the horses, remember?
Hundreds, probably thousands of horses marching down to the trains.
They were also going to war.
There was a captain who let children ride the horses. Took them around the block. It was good exercise with a horse after being held in the stalls.
And the kids were thrilled to be upon those beautiful animals.
We'd feed them too, carrots and things out of our gardens.
I don't want this one to go. Can't we keep it?
He has a job to do like everyone else.
All the little girls cried as the horses boarded the ships.
All the big girls cried when the soldiers did.
I waved goodbye to a lot of boys.
You did a lot more than that than just wave to one of those boys.
I was perfectly decent. May I remind you that he was my husband?
Not that he wasn't.
Wartime romance led to a lot of marriages.
We girls had a list of friends that we were sure would never have gotten married if it hadn't been for the soldiers coming through.
Belle?
Really? And all those girls got married?
All except one.
That's right. You don't believe me? I could name them off to you, but that wouldn't be polite.
I got married right there at the depot as they were loading in.
That was a beautiful wedding. She arrived in a buggy wearing her mother's wedding gown.
He was an officer. He approached on a white horse, and he was the most handsome man in the entire world.
You promised to love and honor and cherish to death do you part. And the very next moment, you were kissing him goodbye and sending him to war.
You were so brave.
It was so romantic.
It's foolish. Marrying a man you may never see again. Day to day, not knowing if he's alive or dead. Most foolish thing I ever heard of.
You can guess it. She's the one that didn't get married.
We stood there at the depot and waved goodbye.
And they were off to fight.
I just got married. I don't want to think about that part.
Turn of the century? It wasn't anything like that today. Oh, must have been awful.
I think war any time is pretty awful.
Think about it though. 1916. Airplanes had barely been invented. Tanks were rudimentary. Soldiers mostly went on foot. Some, well, mainly officers on horseback.
Imagine, not even 100 years ago, riding horses into battle.
I try not to think about that part.
What about his horse he rode on when you got married?
Yes, let's talk about the horses. That's better.
The most common cause of death to a horse in World War I was from gunshot wounds.
Most horses received wounds from the head or chest.
A man on a horse had better aim and better range. The Huns mastered warfare on horseback and stormed through Europe.
Loose the dogs of war! That phrase came from the European tribes. They fought the Huns with wild dogs, trained to attack and chew the legs off horses. They sort of leveled the playing field.
The weapons changed from medieval days to World War I, but the concept remained the same. Down the horse.
Some horses were killed with mustard gas, lethal stuff.
Takes 12 hours to set in. First, the horse's eyes get sore, the skin blisters. It begins bleeding internally and externally. Most of the time the horses were shot before it progressed the 4 or 5 weeks mustard gas takes to kill a human.
Then there was dysentery and fatigue. The horses carried supplies and ammunition over miles of rugged land, mountains, and rivers, carrying the loads, carrying carts, carrying the wounded. Carried everything it could until it couldn't carry anything else. Then it would fall down and die.
Some of them starved to death.
A lot of horses got shell-shocked. Noise of the explosions spooked the animals and they'd go mad.
Most of the horses that survived were shipped back home when the war was over. Some of them ran away into the fields of France.
And this is where they left, from this depot.
This is where we were left.
Waiting every day until the end of the war before knowing if you were a widow or a wife.
This is the place they came home to. The ones that lived.
Here they are. Coming off the train now.
I don't see your husband.
They're still coming off the train. He'll be here.
I'm telling you, I don't see him.
Look, at the way he walks with his head tilted to the side, it's him.
Bill, stay with her. She'll tell herself anything at this point, poor dear. How could she possibly know from this distance? Wait, Look, it is him.
It was him. I knew it was him.
It was her. I knew it was her by the way that she shielded her eyes from the sun. It was her.
He was 200 yards away, but suddenly it felt like miles. It was the longest walk going to him.
Does she still...
Are we dreaming?
Is it real?
A year since I've seen him. Has he changed?
Has she changed?
Where's that boy?
Where's my bottle?
It's still him. I knew it was him by the way that he walked. It was him. That didn't change.
It's still her. I knew it was her in the glare of the sun in the crowd. I still knew it was her.
There he is.
There she is.
There was no running into each other's arms, no blushing or giggling. That was romance of another day. We both had changed, and we knew it. We'd lost time. Now we were trying to figure out how to spend this time, this new time, as new people together. We took the back way home and held hands. We found the beechwood tree where he'd carved our initials when we were young. He added one more to mine.
She pointed to the house where she'd been living, where I would move in, and we walked up the steps. There's still something we need to do.
Yes, I know. I think I feel that blush coming back. He kissed me goodnight, and then he left.
Oh, it was just getting good. Where's he going?
Hello, my son. What's on your mind this late at night?
You know, I'm married, Father.
Yes, I remember performing your hasty service at the depot.
I need to talk to you about that. I have a problem.
Have you had a change of heart now that you've come home? Because
Oh, no. It's nothing like that at all.
And some boys had trouble, you know, being gone so long, had trouble being faithful.
Oh, no, I'd never do that. I love Sharon.
Well, tell me, what's the problem?
Well, see, Father, I wondered for a long time if my marriage was just a dream I made up to make life bearable through the war.
So you feel that it isn't real?
Exactly. Do you think, Father, that you could marry us again?
Of course I can. When would you like to set the date?
Well, what are you doing right now?
Right now, in the middle of the night?
Yeah, well, I take that as a yes. Come on, let's go.
You came back. Where were you, and why did you bring Father Miller?
I want our marriage to be sure, didn't you? I mean, didn't you feel like maybe the whole thing was a dream?
Yeah. Yes, I felt that way sometimes.
I just didn't feel, proper going in that house with you so late.
It is very late. Just about bedtime.
It is, isn't it? Okay, Father, I think we're ready for you to do your thing. You're ready, aren't you?
Yes! Yes.
I have some bad news. We may have to wait till morning.
No! Why?
We need a witness. I don't know where we'll find anybody at this hour.
There's someone right there. Hey, ma'am, would you mind witnessing so we can be legal? All you have to do is watch what we're doing right here, and then you can go back and do whatever it is you were doing. There you go. One witness.
And we got married. Again. This time, instead of on a dock in front of 1,000 people, it was in our front yard alone. Well, except for you. But it seems so much more real this time.
Do you take this man?
I do!
And she did. Hey, Jules and Brett, get back here. They're a couple in real life after all, folks. So you gotta watch out at sometimes. I still have a show to finish.
Oh, yeah, I guess I got caught up in the moment. But, it looks like you did too. Look at the time.
Well, I'll be darned. She's right, folks. It looks like that's all the time we have left in our show tonight.
Awesome. Good night, folks.
Hold on. Just a second now. We have a whole closing number to sing still.
Oh, that's right. And we also have to thank our sponsors.
Yes, Mountain States Health Alliance, the Tennessee Arts Commission, and Appalachian Light and Sound. Thank you for your generous support of our program. Oh, and let's not forget Debbie Thomason. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Debbie.
And one more thing, be sure to check out the Jonesborough Repertory Theater across the street as they present Camelot. You'll see some of us Yarnies in there, Mike, Ashton, Lorianne, and Rhett, and
And will we see you also, Brett?
you might not see me because we'll be up in the loft, but we'll be playing music up there.
Very good. Well, we will be sure to listen for you and look for the others. So much to do in Jonesborough. If you want to catch the Yarn Exchange live, just come to the International Storytelling Center on the 4th Monday of each month. Tickets are only $5 or call 423-753-1010. I guess that's all. But before we say goodbye, we'd all like to especially thank you, our audience. Thank you.